Funding for the following program has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of Insurance Companies.
Good evening. PBS is not known as the sports network, as you know, so it's possible that you may not be familiar with this object that I have in my hand. Actually, it's not complete in this form. There's something else that goes with it, like this. Seriously, though, we're going to miss you around here. Before I get too... Toss it to me again, would you, because I wasn't ready for that. Before I get too patronizing, we are in the midst of another great baseball season. And tonight and tomorrow night, we're going to be talking to, and what we're going to do is take you out to a sort of a baseball Olympus, and you can hear some of the immortals of the game talk about the lore and the color of it all and look back on their great careers. When I say immortals, I don't really think I'm exaggerating that much, because my guests tonight are, first of all, one of the scrappiest players in baseball history, certainly one of the most dynamic and controversial managers, Leo Durocher. Also, one of the greatest hitters in the game from either side of the plate, and if there had been a third side, he surely, would have been a threat from that too. The great Mickey Mantle, and the man who not only was a spectacular enough slugger to break Babe Ruth's all-time career record of 714 home runs, and he's gone well beyond it now, but who was such a splendid all-around player and gentleman that nobody minded that he broke Ruth's record, the great Hank Aaron. And no hissing on this. One of the legendary umpires of the past 30 years who has called balls and strikes and outs on all of these panelists, sometimes cheerfully, and thrown at least one of them out of the game several times, Tom Gorman. And now, before I test the reflexes of all these distinguished retirees, I'll lose that. My cab driver today said, ask Durocher if he can throw a ball still. I'm about to find out. Anywhere you want.
Where do you want it?
Somewhere near me.
Anywhere at all.
Right in there. Oh, got it. Say, I hope my father was watching. That would be his proudest moment. If I dropped that, he'd never speak to me again. Well, gentlemen, you mind if I slide the table in a bit? We can all put our feet on it if we want to. And I've got so much stuff here I want to get to with you fellas that there's just no way I'm ever going to do it. But let's start going. Mr. Durocher, first of all, I want to ask you, in your own words, how good a player were you when you played? There's been some controversy about that now. It's almost, some people have tried to make you out of Joe Garagiola, and others have not.
Garagiola?
Yeah.
Garagiola couldn't get in the ballpark. I don't know why he would call anybody that couldn't play.
I know. He's such a joke, isn't he?
I can't. He played for me.
I know.
I only put him in to catch when I didn't want to get my regular catcher hurt.
You haven't lost any
subtlety. I was noted as a good field, no hit.
Yeah, okay.
But I did have a lifetime batting average of 250. And right now, 250, I weigh more than half of them are hitting in the major leagues.
You know,
170.
I always thought you were a comedian, because as a kid I used to hear you on the Fred Allen Show, and then when I learned you also did baseball, I was quite amazed that you were that versatile. Let's talk about the umpire's strike, which undoubtedly is over by the time people are seeing this. Do umpires have any right to strike? Anyone can grab that.
Why not? You asking me? Well,
I'm throwing it. It's a jump shot.
Well, I think they got a good case. It's been both sides, and the morning paper, I hope they come to a conclusion this weekend. I think that they're getting very close. At least they're sitting down talking. It's almost 3 months old, and there's two sides. There's two sides. I know that, of course, all the years I umpired, I knew I deserved more money, no doubt about it, but I couldn't get it. But when I broke in, of course, going back to the boys, they paid us $5,000 when we broke in the first time. But at that time, the big boys were getting $35,000, $40,000. So the comparison of today, there's no comparison. But I think an umpire comes in the big leagues today at least should get $25,000, at least.
Yeah. Will you go along with that, Mickey?
I think so. He's talking about my first contract with the Yankees was for $5,000, and I think the players should get more than the umpire. You know? But I think the umpire should get more. I think I'm with him.
Yeah. Well, it's a risky job, isn't it? You know, you can get your nose broken.
I think it's seldom. Once in a while, you won't get, not
in a bar. You get your nose broken in a bar after the game.
Well, I think it's unfair because you're really not the games that I've seen so far. The customers are not seeing the real baseball players. You know, it's
really.
We have a pitcher that is Gene Garber, who's pitching with us right now.
Yeah.
And he basically is a low ball pitcher. And in all fairness to the umpires that done it today, they're just not capable of calling a good game.
They just aren't experienced enough to cut the difference between a low ball that's fair and one that's...
They're inconsistent.
That's
I mean, that's the point. Yeah.
So it's hurt the game this season.
It certainly has, I think.
When I retired, Dick, in 1955, I went with NBC and then I was with ABC doing the games with Chris Schenkel. And I said then that the umpires are way, way underpaid. The integrity of the game is in their hands. You can sit on the bench. It can be misting rain, and that game can't start. The umpires have nothing to do with it. The umpires can sit there and wait. But once you hand them that lineup, then it belongs to the umpire. They tell you whether you can play or not. We're playing, rain or shine, now. And I think they deserve the abuse they take. I know I was thrown out probably more than anybody, but I know one thing, that every time I was thrown out, I was deserved to be thrown out because I was warned before that. One more word and you're gone. And I said, I'm going to have the last word, but I didn't.
Was it any particular word?
Yes, if you want to stay in the air and finish this show, I bet that's it.
On this subject, though, it was interesting when you said the game is not the same because of the inexperienced umpires. I was surprised to read how many things can be done to a baseball that a very experienced umpire only can detect. You can put it in a refrigerator overnight. You can boil it overnight. Who was the famous case of the man who filed his wedding ring so that it did something to the ball?
Who was he, Mickey?
Is he sitting here now?
Whitey had a lot of tricks. I guess
Your old roommate, whatever.
He wasn't the only one, though. He had to be taught himself, you know. There was other guys before Whitey that taught Whitey how to do that.
Well, Preacher
Warren Spahn is the one that taught Whitey how to put mud on the ball.
Explain why that works. Why does it work to alter a ball?
If there's something on a baseball, when you throw a baseball into the wind or anywhere, you know, if there's an object like on this, like if Whitey put mud on this side of the ball and he throws it straight over, the mud will make the ball slide that way.
The wind resistance is different, and so the ball does funny things.
That's what makes a knuckleball hard to hit. If you throw a ball without any spin on it, the wind takes it and does funny things with it. That's what makes a knuckleball.
By the way, knuckleball isn't illegal, is it?
No, spitball is. Now, what we used to do, when I played, which is 1,000 years ago, there was only 3 umpires.
When you played, was it in the days when they let the ball bounce once before the catcher caught it?
No, not quite. Not quite, Dick. I was just a little bit after that. Just a little bit. But anyway, they had what we used to do, especially when the late Dizzy Dean was pitching. In other words, they'd throw the ball to Delancey, would throw the ball to me, the Gas House gang. He'd throw the ball to me down at second base, and I had my belt buckle right there. And I used to sharpen it with a file. And I just take the ball and I just go like that, and I'd hand it to Diz and I'd say, here it is, it's on the top. And that cut that I put in the ball on the top, Dizzy would just take it and down it went. And if they didn't throw it out, he'd just turn it over when he got it back and it just took off the other way.
That's wonderful. And of course, immoral.
It might be immoral, but they never ask you how you won it.
The funny thing about it, Dizzy threw so hard that it didn't make any difference, you know. He didn't need all that.
Yeah, did he need any artificial help? I mean,
there was somebody in baseball, Mickey.
Leo, was you on the team when Dizzy went into the other team's clubhouse and told him how he was going to pitch him?
Oh, sure. You went right into the meeting and told him, don't hold a meeting, I'll tell you.
He said, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to pitch to everybody.
You mean like as if a poker player said, I'll tell you what cards I've got and y'all still beat you?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be that bad, but he walked right into an open meeting in a visiting clubhouse and said, who are we playing today? Like, we say, well, we're playing the Cubs. He'd walk right in the Cub clubhouse and say, no need of having a meeting. I'm going to pitch you low and away. I'm going to throw you curves. I'm going to throw you fastballs.
Didn't he bet Hank Greenberg that he could strike him out 4 straight times?
In the World Series, he did that.
When they played Detroit in the World
That's
Series.
kind of like Satchel Paige. It was.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, what he did, he struck him out 3 times. And the last time that Greenberg comes up to hit, he hit a high pop foul. And Dizzy went over and shoved the catcher out of the way so he couldn't catch the pop foul, so he could strike him out again. Is that right? No, I heard that. I don't believe it, but I heard it.
Well, when I said earlier that it was an umpire can get injured, Tom, didn't you break a leg?
Yeah, in Chicago, Lee was there.
Oh, that's my...
That was with Pittsburgh, when they had Pittsburgh. I tell you, it was 1952, July the 5th.
Yeah.
And we had Oliver playing first base, and Oliver's built like a real woman. Like
We have a man breaking up over here through injury. Can't wait to hear
And
how
he
you
had
broke.
Popovich. He had Popovich hitting.
Now, you tell the story right.
Yeah, Popovich hit a ball to the right of first base. It's an easy play. Doc Ellis is pitching. But he forgot to cover first base. He didn't cover. He was counting his money on the mound. He forgot. Now we got the 2 donkeys, or the 2 ball players coming for the thing. We call the ball players donkeys, and they call us something else now. I said to myself, oh, this is going to be a real close. So I come to the outside by the foul line where the coach stayed. And they both got at the base at the same time. And whoom. And I'm down on one knee. Before I could call, Oliver was thrown into me, and he hit me right there. And I thought I was dead. I had the wind knocked out of me, and my leg was broken. Never knew my leg till I tried to get up. The next thing I hear is Leo and Danny Maytak. And I said, so, did he call him out, or did he call him safe? He's not worried about me on the ground. And I said, listen to those 2 bums up there howling about me.
You got a bone sticking out of your leg.
That's right. So now I've got my wind back. I'm trying to get up, and he says, was he safe or was he out? I said, who's talking? He said, Leo. I said, he's out.
That's true? Oh, that's marvelous.
They carried me off the field, took me to the hospital, set the leg. The next morning, Lee was the first from the hospital.
He was.
8 o'clock in the morning, first from the
To
hospital.
find out if he was really out or not.
I thought, it was, with the reputation that we had, I thought that was very... A lot of people don't know that.
We're now sitting here looking at an umpire. They should all have been like this one.
Yeah.
This
What does
is
he
an
have that
umpire.
the others lack?
Well, a lot of them will call the ball that far outside. We had one, the old timer, when I played Bill Clem. If you took a ball and it was that far outside, he said strike. And then you took one, hit the corner, and you swung at it, and you missed it. Then the next one was this far outside, strike 3, and you said something. He said, I didn't miss the first 2, did I? You did. He said, goodbye.
Weren't you tempted to say something unprintable?
Oh, he had a name for him, Catfish.
Was it really Catfish?
You call him Catfish, and you're in the clubhouse.
And he's within his rights to throw you out for upsetting him, is he, the umpire? If you
At
just
times.
if you just say
For saying catfish?
Oh, no, but that was an insult to him. He didn't like
It's
that.
an insult. He didn't like that.
He didn't
Why
like
can't
that.
throw you out of the game for saying catfish?
He had a fan put out of the ballpark in St. Louis, and he threw me out at the same time.
he sent a fan to the showers?
Yeah, now if you were, there was a fan sitting in the Anheuser-Busch box, and I was there hitting at the plate, and this guy kept calling over there, and you could hear him. He was, wasn't too far away, maybe 50 feet, and he was hollering, "Catfish, catfish, catfish." And I'm up there hitting, and finally Clem said time. And he goes around and he bends over and he brushing off home plate. And he says to me, see if you can pick out that knucklehead that's calling me catfish. So I looked up. After he comes behind the plate, I said, he's right over there. He says, don't point, you stupid dumb. And he called me on the thing, and he said, you're out of the... And he threw me out the ball game. Hey, he threw me out the ball game for pointing. I said, you told me to pick him... For pointing at the guy that was hollering at him. I said, you told me to pick him out. He said, I didn't tell you to point, you idiot, you. Get in the clubhouse.
I find that a little hard to believe.
Yeah, well, it's in my book, Bill Clem.
Are you sure it was pointing you were doing with that finger?
Yes, it was pointing.
Well, why? I've got to know if we find out nothing else tonight or tomorrow or whatever. Why a catfish? What did that? What was the history?
Face, it looked like a catfish.
It looked like a
And
catfish.
the ball players put on it. That's what they called it. That's what it was an insult to him.
Yeah.
It used to be beautiful when Frankie Frisch was managing the club. If Clem ever started it, if Clem ever said, and he did this many times, if he used the word Fordham Flash, and he added to it, Fordham Flash, my...
Yeah.
If he said that, now Frisch could call him Catfish for 9 innings.
Really?
Yeah, if Clem started it.
Fordham Flash stirs my hash, something like that.
That's what it was. And I got a little news for you. They used to go at it.
I'm sure.
They used to go at it.
Hank, did you ever, in your position, fall afoul of an umpire to the point where you really wanted to, take him on, or?
I don't know, Dick. I
You're such a manly chap.
I think I had a very good relationship with the umpires. I don't know what it was, but I always felt like if they called a bad pitch on me, that I would just go behind the catcher, pick up some dirt, and say, you missed that one. And believe it or not, it worked. 9th inning, they come down, they pitch that much of the plate, they call ball for me.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I had to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were trying to do the best that they could.
But you would even disguise the fact from the crowd that you were complaining.
I think that's the biggest thing, right, Tom? The umpire just don't like to be shown up.
You don't mind a guy turning around and saying, hey, I need that ball as a strike. It'd be a nice way. And I'll say, look at you, turn around and say, where the hell was that one? I say, what are you asking me for? Look at the scoreboard.
Would tone of voice matter? I mean, if someone, even in a sort of cultured upper middle class British accent, perhaps, would turn to you and say, in point of fact, old man, it does seem to me that you assessed that rather poorly.
Well, that happens in cricket.
That
happens in cricket, but not in night games.
Oh, I see.
You don't even really have to say anything. If you want to really make an umpire feel bad, you can just look at him.
Just look.
In a way,
Or in Catfish's case, hold a mirror up in front of him.
You don't have to be a college graduate, to be a ball player, to be a manager.
Slip of the tongue there.
Don't have to be.
Is Catfish alive today, I wonder?
No, he's died years and years ago.
Yeah.
Was that his real name?
Yeah.
What was his
His real nickname?
Bill Clem.
Bill Clem. Oh, Bill Clem, yes, legendary.
Tell him about the guy that you got. Was it Beans Reardon that you got in the kicking contest with?
No, that was Jocko.
Jocko.
That was in the Coliseum. And, I'll tell you what started it. Sinatra started it. I was coaching him for the Dodgers, and I had one foot on the top step in the Coliseum. And I was leaning against the rail watching the ball game. And I wasn't saying anything, and Conlon's behind the plate. And all of a sudden, Sinatra, who was sitting right there in the box, he imitated my voice. And he said, the ball was right through the middle. He had called it a ball, and it was outside. He said, don't tell me the ball was low. Ball was right through there. Well, Conlon took it for about 4 times, and the first thing you know, off come the mask, and he said, you, out.
And you hadn't opened your mouth.
No, and I said, what do you put me out for? I haven't said a word to you. Well, we got into it at home plate. Now, as Tom knows, I used to have a way with the umpires. I used to try to get them where the line is. You know what they put the lines down?
Is that so you could throw your hat down and make the cloud come up?
No, kick the line with my shoe on their pants. And if they don't get it off, it'll burn a hole in there. So I used to try to get them near that line, and they always tried to get to the grass to get away from me.
Remember these, boys and girls, when you're out on the ball.
So anyway, Conlon got me. So I went to kick Conlon, and I missed the ground with my spikes, and I kicked him right in the shins. And he kicked me. And I kicked him, and he kicked me. And we were like 2 kids. And I finally realized I'm getting the worst of it. He's got shin guards on. My shins are
Oh, that's awful.
So I got fined $300 and suspended for 5 days.
But 2 men kicking each other.
Your shins were bleeding.
Yeah, my shins were bleeding. They were kicking me. Because, the umpires were a thing, Tom. What do they call it, Tom?
Shin tip. You got a steel tip toe.
They got a steel
Like a catcher.
instep.
I understand.
Yeah, it's called a shin tip.
And they're kicking me with that thing. No wonder my shins are bleeding.
Well, men don't kick. You must look like 2 old ballerinas out there.
Oh, we were beautiful.
Doing toe kicks at each other. Well, that's marvelous. Mickey, every time I see you, I have to laugh. I can explain that. Mickey and I, Hank, were you on that show I did some years back? Were we all together? Maybe, I know you've been on with me, but it was another one. Anyway, I had one of the shows I did with baseball players. And Paul Simon, that Paul Simon, is a wonderful athlete and a very serious baseball fan. Yeah, especially a Yankee fan. And he asked if he could be on that show, and he was there. And at some point in the show, I don't remember how it
Whitey
came
Ford
out.
was on with us.
Whitey was there.
Yeah.
There was somebody on his left. Anyway, Do you remember how it came up? And do you remember what you admitted
Was
on
talking
that
about
show?
was talking about kids wetting the bed, and I said that I had done it until I was about 14 years old or something like
right.
that. And he goes, "Mickey Mantle wet the bed?" Whoever, he said, "You're my hero. You ain't telling me that."
I know. If you can just picture Paul Simon's face thunderstruck. It was wonderful. Well, anyway, that made a lot of kids feel better who wet the bed, including me. Say, this is the anniversary of the Copa, or is it the anniversary of the Copacabana famous brawl and fight that some of us got
Last
into?
night was 22 years ago last night.
Who threw the first whatever?
I'll tell you, I was so drunk I don't remember. I think that
Could have
probably...
been Carmen Miranda, for all you know.
I think what happened was, it was Billy Martin's birthday. Today is Billy's birthday.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if...
Are you going back to the court tonight?
Don't rush out and send a card, because you may be watching this some days or weeks after we tape it.
But anyway...
Are we out of time? Oh, we'll have to finish this tomorrow night, which will be in a few minutes. I can explain all that. Listen, Tom Gorman, Mickey Mantle, Cavett, Leo Durocher, and Hank Aaron will all be here tomorrow night to continue this saga, and we'll figure out what happened at the Copa and why, or not. Join us then.
Funding for the Dick Cavett Show has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of insurance companies. Funding for the following program has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of insurance companies.
Good evening, and welcome again to our billion-dollar baseball panel. I hope you saw last night. Every theater producer has a dream cast in mind, and my guests on these shows are men that every baseball executive could dream of building a team around, or even a league. When I introduced them last night, I mentioned some of their backgrounds, and as if that were necessary. Tonight, as I reintroduce them, let me bring you up to date on what they're doing today. Leo Durocher has packed away the pennants he's won as a manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Giants, and he's living in splendid retirement in Palm Springs, California. Mickey Mantle, after murdering baseballs in Yankee Stadium for 20 years or so, is now trying to make a killing as an insurance man in Dallas. Hank Aaron is vice president of player personnel for the Atlanta Braves, the team for which he hit his all-time record-breaking 755. That isn't the right figure. Home run. Is it? Doesn't sound right.
That's what I ended up
755 home run. Oh, yeah, but Babe Ruth's record before was 714, yeah. Okay. Tom Gorman, after umpiring in the National League for 27 years, is now a senior umpire advisor for the league. He also has a book out about his experiences called 3 and 2. I don't need to explain that phrase. Will you welcome them all back, please? Maybe I do need to explain that phrase, because sometimes these shows end up seen in Europe and so on. So 3 and 2 means 3 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah.
That's what we use, the 3 and 2, and that's why we named the book like that. The Scribner's the They're the ones that put it out, and we hope it goes good. It's a nice book. Anybody can read it from your childhood up. And there's nothing of the, like some of the books we have are not too good, Mickey, right? Some of them.
Also,
You say that, nobody will buy it, though.
what I like about it is
Book, nobody buy it.
what I like about it is that there are all these pictures in it, and you can color them. You know, because
Here's another one.
can you throw me out of here? I just wondered. I mean,
Well,
the power of the Empire is awesome.
If I had the lineup cards, I could put you up. I have the lineup cards here, so I'm stuck.
You know what I learned today that I didn't know, that an umpire, or yesterday I learned this, right?
That was yesterday, yeah.
An umpire can throw out a fan.
Yes,
I wish
that was
the
news
players
to me.
were. I wish the players, if they had the same. What do you call it?
Power. The same,
Can you imagine?
franchise.
There wouldn't be anybody left in the ballpark, right?
How many times have you been thrown out, Mickey?
I didn't get thrown. I'm like you. I didn't argue too much.
Never once.
I like.
Oh, you've been out.
Oh, I got thrown out about 3 times, but it was like almost like what you was talking about, just for nothing. I mean, I would look at an umpire and it would make them mad, you know, because I hardly ever looked around. But if I did, I didn't have to say anything. I just look at them like you.
That withering mantle.
And it meant what they thought it did, and that's like, take a hike.
Is it possible that before these programs are over, we'll get mad at each other in some way? I mean, should we be putting some lime on the floor now so you could kick it if you want to?
Oh, no. The only one that did that was Bill Clem. He drew a line. He drew a line one day in Philadelphia.
Oh, yes.
And I was captain of the gas house gang. Frisch was the manager. And he drew a line behind home plate. He got into a beef with Dizzy Dean. And he drew a line about as long as the stage here, and he stood on the other side of the line. And Frisch ran up, Diz ran up, he got thrown out. Frisch ran up, and he crossed the line, he got thrown out. I ran up right to the line, stopped, and I went around it, and he looked at me and he said, same thing, you go with him. Same thing.
You went around the end of the
I
line?
went around it, but he said, same thing.
That's wonderful. We left our viewers last night breathless to find out what happened on what was known as Black Wednesday or something at the Copacabana some years back. There was a set to, a dust-up, what the British call a punch-up. Well, what would be the right phrase for it? A brawl?
It was a brawl.
Yeah,
It was
brawl.
a barroom brawl.
And we have an eyewitness here, but he doesn't recall too many details about what was going on.
I can relate to the, well, we all got sued. One of the guys got hurt real. What happened was Sammy Davis was the entertainer at the Copa that night, and it was Billy's birthday party, and me and Whitey Ford.
Billy Martin, Ford.
Billy Martin was the, it was his birthday, and we were throwing a party for him, and we invited about 4 or 5 couples, Yogi and Hank Bauer. Hank Bauer was supposedly the one that smashed everybody's noses and everything. He was the old Marine, you know, like he had the flat nose and everything and the burr haircut. But I don't think Hank ever hit anybody. As far as the best I can remember, I was in the back of the cloakroom where we all went. What happened was there was 2 bowling teams came in to celebrate their victory dinner or whatever it was, and they were calling Sammy Davis Little Black Sambo and stuff like this. And
Witty remarks were being passed.
And getting up in front of us. And so anyway, they, like Hank and Billy, asked them to sit down a couple of times, you know, and they kept on standing up in front and everything. So the first thing I know, the cloakroom was full of people swinging. And there's one guy, I see one guy laying there, scared the hell out of me because he was hurt.
Yeah.
And I mean, his face was like pretty well smashed. Anyway, we all have to go to the courtroom, you know, and this guy sued each one of us for $5,000 and the Yankees for something too.
The injured man?
Yeah. And I think that finally they found out it wasn't one of the players that hit him. It was one of the
bowlers.
He was one of the bowlers.
I mean, one of his own.
No, it was one of the bouncers in the Copa.
Oh, the bouncer.
That hit him with a blackjack in the face or something. I think that's what they found out. I don't really think it was one of the players, Tom.
I wouldn't. No, they wouldn't do that. No, not Billy. No.
We call that a sap. The thing that they.
Yeah, sap.
It's called a sap. Yeah. And you're called a sap if you get in the way of one, I think, too. Well, now, there's a certain drama that spins off from that night because wasn't it a result of that night? Really, there wasn't that the straw that broke the man.
Billy got traded because of it. We feel that's the reason he got traded. Mr. Weiss had warned us a few times before that, that, you know, if things kept going, if we kept missing trains and planes and stuff, that something was going to happen. And so Billy Billy was the most exposable one. You know, Whitey won 25 games a year, and at that time I was hitting like Hank Aaron does, you know. I mean, I was hitting pretty good, so they couldn't get rid of us, so they got rid of Billy.
Now, that drama, in a sense, is still going on. I mean, you can't date it all from that night, but the Billy Martin story does go on. And as a result of that night, didn't you think that Casey Stengel was the reason that Martin was thrown out?
I didn't think so. Billy thought that Casey got rid of him.
Yeah.
And I never did think that, and it was the farthest thing from the truth. Casey loved Billy, like a manager would love, and I know Leo would say this, would love to have a guy like Billy on his team because he. Sure. Well, I remember a lot of times when we'd like lose four or five straight games. You know, Casey would say, "We're getting in a rut here." You know, said somebody go out there and start a fight. Hey, Martin, go out there and start a fight today. You know, get us out of this rut. Well, just as soon as Billy go out on the field, he'd start a fight with somebody, you know. And Casey loved him for that. You know?
Well, how did Casey and Martin get back together? Didn't you work as an intermediary, or as an ambassador?
Well, I always told Billy. They said that the reason they traded Billy was because he was a bad influence on me. And
that's hilarious.
The year that they traded him, the year before they traded Billy, I led the league in everything. I hit 52 home runs and drove in 140 runs and scored. I led the American League in every offensive department.
Yeah.
And then I said they fired him. They trade Billy because he's a bad influence. Well, that year I hit 365 or something like that. It was unbelievable. So he couldn't have been that bad of an influence, you know?
No, and didn't you also lead the league in the things that they thought he was a bad influence on you about?
Well, it wasn't my fault, really. He was a bad influence. I won't say that. In fact, if it hadn't been for Billy and Whitey, I could have played as long as Hank did.
I bet you could.
I had to retire when I was 35 years old.
And there's no pun on...
I played at least 40.
Yeah. No pun on
if
the word.
If he'd run into Billy and Whitey, he wouldn't have hit 755 home runs.
There was a book by, which some people thought was about a former British Prime Minister, Balfour, but was in fact called Ball Thor. Why did I just go blank? It is called Ball Thor, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
Balfour,
yeah, Jim
right.
Bouton's book. And is anyone still hypocritical enough to pretend that the so-called expose of baseball that book was isn't true?
There isn't a ball player that puts a uniform on that couldn't have written the same book.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Everybody could have written the same book.
So the soreness was if somebody broke ranks and ratted, would that be what you mean?
Well,
in our business, you just don't do stuff like that. I mean, it's a tradition in our business. I think the book is a piece of garbage. You know, that's my own opinion about it. I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Well, I think
that's right.
I think what happened.
They have no right to go around and talk about jumping like we have in our league. I don't think that. Anybody's life, we all do the same thing. Any ball player's life, we all could do it very easy.
But is the principle here people who live in glass houses?
That's right. I agree so much. But that book is different.
Shouldn't hit pop flies.
He was a player last year, of course, with our ball club, and I was responsible for releasing Jim Bouton.
Yeah.
And of course, he just written a little 5 chapters in Sports Illustrated. He really got a hold of me, you know. But I just felt like, you know, some of the things that he said and about the players was untrue. Some of the young players, you know, in the minor leagues, he was saying that some of them smoked dope and et cetera, you know. And I just felt like those things should remain in the clubhouse.
Yeah. Well, why exactly? Is it because it disillusions people the way Nixon did in the White House? Or,
well, I don't know.
Somebody said the worst thing Nixon did was he let everybody see what a seamy side the government always has been, always has had. Is it that he revealed that all major sports, because they're played by
what happened was that he pretended like he was coming back to try to get to the big leagues to play baseball, and he used that to play minor league baseball, and he used that to get into the clubhouse to peep and to eavesdrop on some of the young players. And I just thought it was wrong, some of the things that he said in the book. And of course he talked about me, and what he said about me was the fact that I released him and didn't come to watch him pitch. And I said, well, you know, really, we didn't have any spot for a 40-year-old knuckleball pitch in Double-A ball. You know, we're not raising 40-year-old knuckleball pitchers. Yeah. And that's the thing, I guess, got a little teed off. We were building young teams, you know, because I tried to explain to Bouton that every time he went out on the mound, he pitched 17, he went on the mound 17 times, and the 17 times he took a start away from some young kid. And that was my position, you know. It was my position in order to bring up these young players and not to try to develop a 40-year-old knuckleball pitcher. Well, he said to me, he said, well, you know, Phil Niekro is pitching in the big leagues. I said, yeah, he sure is. I said, he's not pitching in the minor leagues. I said, you're trying to get to the big leagues.
Yeah.
He said some very unkind things that were not true.
Yeah.
What could you say
about Henry?
Yeah. What recourse do you have in a case like that?
None whatsoever. Just hope that Mr. Bowden would take a cue and keep going. You know, it was a well, it was a case of really. The less you say about it, the better off you are. You know, I try not to say anything about it, but because it was a case that the only thing that I was interested in was trying to develop the kids in the spring training, the young kids in our farm system. Yeah. And I was hoping that he would understand that, but he didn't.
Maybe hearing you say it so well now, he will understand.
Well, I tried to. I talked to him in the clubhouse. And
I know he never
this is what happened. Well, I brought him in West Palm Beach. I brought him in. I said, Bowden, I said, well, I'm sorry. You know, I said, I got to release you. He said, release me. And then he went on and he started talking. He said, now don't hang that uniform. You know, don't bother my uniform. He said, I'll be right back. And it was around Easter, say. It was kind of tough getting out of West Palm Beach at the time. I don't know how he got out, but about 40 or 50 minutes later, he was in Atlanta. And I got a telephone call from, of course, from Bill Lucas, who was then our general manager, who's passed away last week. And he said that he had talked to Ted Turner, and Ted wanted him to pitch.
Want who to pitch?
Jim Bowden.
Wanted Bowden to pitch?
Yeah, I said, well, it's his ball club. I said, bring him on back. Yeah. I said, his uniform is here, you know.
Well, Ted Turner has some zany ideas.
No, he's a businessman, you know, really.
He certainly is.
You can afford to have zany ideas with this kind of money.
I know. See, no, if you see him, would you mention to him that I taped a show with him one time, and it's never been on the air. It was in this room. There was a little rancor in it, a little unpleasantness, but someone other than myself decided not to air it. I think I just decided to air
it. I'll tell him.
How would you rule on that,
Well, first you got to see the film.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let's see what's on it.
Wants to see whether it's a ball or a strike.
I'd like to see it.
I want to tell you what type of guys are in our business. And that's Hank and Hank. That's what you call a class man right there. That's what you call
Hank Aaron, yes.
This guy in Durocher, because, I mean, you got the whole baseball world here today. It's a super, you know.
Who are some of the real bums in baseball?
What do you want me to start?
Umpires.
Oh, wait, I think you have a list of them in here. Is that these names on the back?
No, that's my guy there. But, I mean, see, this is something that people don't hear when it comes out. Every time you hear the other side sometimes.
I always felt that Hank was the best all-around baseball player in my time, and Leo will say Willie. It was one of the two, and it would be hard to pick between the two of them.
You see,
he was always underrated because he played in Milwaukee.
Mickey is saying, and it's absolutely true. If I had been managing Mickey Mantle, he'd have been the greatest ball player in baseball.
Whereas?
If I'd have managed DiMaggio, he would have been.
Yeah.
If I'd have had the pleasure of managing Hank Aaron, he would have been. I was fortunate enough to manage Willie Mays, who could do it all, who did it all. And as I said to Reggie Jackson once, who couldn't get through this door, I said, when you hit 660 home runs, come and talk to me.
See, like if Casey were here, he would say I was. But Leo sticks up for him. I stick up for him, and I wouldn't even play. I wasn't even in the National League or anything. But I think he was the most underrated ball player until he hit
for a long time.
Until he broke Babe Ruth's record, nobody knew him.
Well, there's only 5 things you can do, Dick, to be great, and that's hit with power, field and run, and throw. Name me one that he couldn't do. God-given. The same as me.
You only named 4 things there, didn't you?
No, I named 5. 5, now you're going to sleep. Come on.
No,
wake up here.
I thought maybe there was one you didn't want to mention on the air.
No, I mentioned them all.
Okay.
There's only 5 things you can do, and that's God-given. And he had it that way. Mays had it that way. And Mickey, of course, was injured with his leg for quite some time. Without that injury, who knows what would have happened with him. And then at one time, I had a player, and I don't know whether any of these boys have seen him play or not. Tom saw him play, Pete Reeser. Oh, yeah. If he didn't run in the walls, he had Mantle's power, right and left-handed, run, field, and throw. He could do it all.
Yeah.
But that brick wall would never stop him. He thought he could go right through it.
He should have played at Yankee Stadium. We didn't have any wall. It was all the way out there.
That's what he needed.
Say, what's the one ballpark? Is it Wrigley Field or Comiskey Park that only has ivy on the walls and none of the
Wrigley Field.
Is it better for players than to have the
good background.
Roy Tan?
But it's hard to find the ball at times.
Well, that shows my age.
It's hard to find the ball.
Hard to find the ball in here. Say, while we're on this subject, and I do wish Casey Stengel were here, probably one of the most hilarious events in American history is his testimony in front of the in Washington when he testified about baseball being a what was it? What was the suit? The antitrust suit. And Casey Stengel got up and did one of the most fabulous pieces of double talk I've ever heard in my life.
And they dismissed him. They couldn't get him out of there fast
Well, then
enough.
didn't they call you on?
They asked him one question. He talked for like an hour. So then I was the next. I was scared to death. He's happy. You know, he loves it. You know, they had cameras there and everything. It was the Kefauver
Committee, yeah, our younger viewers
convention committee. And they asked Casey to come up first. They had Casey, myself, and Ted Williams, and Stan Musial. And I was only like 20 years old or something at this time, and I was scared to death. I didn't have any idea what I was doing there.
Being called into the principal's office.
I thought we was going to go to jail or something. You know? So they called Casey up and asking us, do you think baseball is against the antitrust laws or something like that? And he started in talking about
I can hear it
1900 or something when he was in Kankakee, Illinois. And he said he tore his suit sitting in the stands. And now they got the nice seats and all that. But he went for like an hour. And so then they said, well, Mr. Stengel, would you please excuse yourself, sit down there. And they called me up.
He was explaining how to bait fish hooks or something about the time they told him.
They're talking about railroads, how good the railroads were getting, and airplanes. So then I got to go up, you got to put your hand on the thing, you know, and say, I swear I won't tell no lies or nothing. And I was nervous.
Is that the oath?
Won't tell no lies or nothing.
That's wonderful. We have so little time left. Leo, you were manager when baseball history was made and the first black player came into the National Leagues.
Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, great moment in history. And it's disgusting now to read how some of the members of your own team didn't want him on it.
Well, one player in particular wrote a letter, and he was gone. They traded him right now.
They?
The club.
Yeah.
The Dodgers traded him immediately, and the other fella, I'll say one thing. He had the guts to look him right in the eye, and he said, I don't like you, and I'm not crazy about playing with you, but you're on my club, and we'll get along, and I'm going to play with you.
Let's at least.
And the one player was Stanky, who said he didn't like him.
Al Stanky?
No,
Eddie Stanky.
He said, I don't like you, but he said, I'll play with you, and we'll fight together because you're a teammate of mine. And the other fellow was Dixie Walker, who wrote the letter, and was traded to Brooklyn for, what, 3 or 4 players that spring, that winter. Right away, gone. Gone.
What if Satchel Paige had been allowed to play when he was under 60 or whatever he was when he still...
I hit against Satchel Paige in 1925 when I was a rookie with the Yankees, and we played an exhibition game in Detroit, and I never saw the ball. It must have been a golf ball he was throwing. Because it was a 1, 2, 3. I could have gone back. I could have never left the bench with the same thing. He could really bring it. As we say in baseball.
Really bring it.
He could really fire.
I hit against him in 1951, my first year with the Yankees. He was relieving a relief pitcher. Remember when Vic put the easy chair out in the bullpen for him in St. Louis? And I don't know how old he was then, but he could still bring it, as he says.
For our younger viewers,
fast.
Satchel Paige was a legendary black ball player who was not allowed to play except in black leagues through his prime.
Although our commissioner, who was the greatest ever lived, Judge Landis, it was brought up because I was in his office every week for something, and I mentioned to him why we didn't have colored ball players, and he said, whoever put that rule in?
Really?
Who said you couldn't?
And no one had ever...
And I never had an answer for it, and Mr. Rickey was the first one that brought, well, you talk about some colored ball players, Henry knows Josh Gibson, and you want to name some that could really...
What about Elston Howard?
Wow.
He's great. He was our first one, and he was the best, one of my best friends. I couldn't say Billy and Whitey and Yogi. They're all great friends, but Elston was right up there with us.
And who was it who said, I finally get one, and I get the only one in the world who can't run?
Casey about Elston. He said all the rest of them can run like hell. We get one, he can't even run.
Well, Marty Irvin, he's the president of the Giants. He was super. You had him.
Marty Irvin now working out of the commissioner's office, and a beautiful man.
Gentlemen, I think this show is over. It has really flown. I hope you can come back sometime, perhaps tomorrow night, but at this moment I don't honestly know. So we'll just say goodnight. It's been wonderful having you here. Tom Gorman, Mickey Mantle, Leo Durocher, Hank Aaron. There's certainly a good feeling among athletes and people connected with that, and
Thank you, Dick.
It's a great thrill to have you guys here. Maybe you'll be here again. We'll see you tomorrow night, and good night.
Funding for the Dick Cavett Show has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of insurance companies. Funding for the following program has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of insurance companies.
Say, as I promised or threatened last night, we are back tonight. I wasn't sure at the end of last night's show. And if you've been with us, or even if you haven't, you probably would know, even if I didn't tell you who these people are, that the first one is Leo Durocher. And I guess a phrase, a legend in his own time, is so corny that I'm not even going to utter it. But one of baseball's great legendary figures, Leo the Lip, is a phrase that I remember when I was 7 years old, which was last summer. Ow! Leo the Finger Masher is also known as. And Mickey Mantle, if you'd ever told me when I was a tiny tot that I'd be sitting next to Mickey Mantle, I would have... now he's going to hit my other hand. It's too much violence on television, don't you feel? Or a gentleman who won't strike me, Hank Aaron, is, we agreed last night, some people think the great baseball player of their time, our time, Mickey Mantle's time. And Tom Gorman is here simply to show that we are willing to treat people as equals because he is, in fact, an umpire. And but certainly one of the most popular guys in the baseball picture.
I didn't realize Hank had such big feet.
You know,
that's fun for you.
Well, I'm
Not his big feet.
You're impressed with the size of other players' anatomies, are you? I mean, he's pointing at his feet.
Really? That's unbelievable.
Does that mean that a man would not be likely to be that very fast with feet that size?
You wouldn't think, well, like Elston, like Casey said, we got a slow one. He had great big feet, but he could run good. Hank could, but Ellie couldn't.
It isn't that Hank has big feet, it's just that his shoes are big.
If they are, he can run well above average in the shoes.
I never thought of that foot size determines speed. Obviously it doesn't, because how big are those feet? I mean, as long as we're...
This is
triple D?
size 11 and a half.
All right.
Yeah, 11 and a half.
But he won't wear 11 and a half baseball shoe, will you, Henry?
No, 12 baseball.
I just thought of something. You know, when you first go to a ballpark as a kid and you don't understand the game or anything, you wonder why the guy's swinging 4 bats, and someone explains it to you. It makes it seem easier to swing 1. Would it be possible to walk around, I mean this in all seriousness, in heavy shoes, perhaps with weights on them, for the same principle that when you got them off, you could really run?
I think I've never done it. I see some ball players in spring training used to walk around with weights around their ankles. You know.
Well, is that the reason they swing 3 bats, or is it simply to...
Simply to loosen
up. Yeah, to try to loosen them.
It isn't that makes the one seem so light that you can fool yourself into thinking you can hit a lot better with it. There are great historic moments in baseball, and if we had not done a 3rd show in this series, we would have left them out. Mr. Durocher, from your own lips, I would love to hear the Bobby Thompson home run story.
Well, we were getting beat 4-1, and we had 3 more outs, and I waited till all my club came into the dugout, and I said, you've had some kind of year, boys, and I said, you have nothing to be ashamed of, and when you walk off this field, I want your head right up, I don't want your chin down. And all during the 9 innings, Don Newcomb, which is an absolute true story, I was coaching at 3rd base, and I'd go by Don Newcomb as he would go onto the mound, and I'd call him everything. I called him everything you could think of, Henry, trying to get him mad. You know what I mean? To get into a fight with me, and then we both get thrown out. But I'd get rid of Newcomb. We weren't going to beat him. He was throwing aspirin tablets.
What does that mean? Oh, yeah, I see.
He was throwing, you couldn't see the ball.
Yeah, I get it.
Finally in the...
I'd forgotten that one.
Finally in the 9th inning, we go out, and Dark leads off, and he gets a base hit. Mueller gets a base hit, and then Lockman comes up, and he doubles on the left field line and scores 1 run. Mueller comes in the third and sprains his ankle. And sort of, like it was broken, and he couldn't, I got to have a pinch runner now. So I picked the biggest guy in my club to come and stand over with me, because I knew Newcomb was coming after me. I knew he was coming right to third base, so I brought Clint Hartung, the big Texan, about 6'5". I brought him over there. And Newcomb started for me, and I said, and I didn't say a word, I just looked at him. I didn't want him to come over here. And Hartung said, just keep coming. And Newcomb made a turn and walked down the clubhouse, and they all waved handkerchiefs at him. Now, the hitter that I thought would do the job was Monty Irvin. And he popped up to Hodges in foul territory in the coach's box. And then Bobby Thompson and Mays were the next 2 hitters. And I didn't know whether they'd pitch to Thompson or not. But on Monday, Thompson hit a home run off of Branca. And he hit it in the upper deck in Ebbets Field to put us in front 2-1. And Monty Irvin hit a home run in the 9th inning, and we win it 3-1. So I walked up to home plate and I said, Branca remembers that you hit a slider. Didn't you hit a slider off of him? He said, yeah. I said, he won't throw that today. He'll throw you a fastball right there. That's his weakness anyway. Get him a fastball in there. And they got it in there. He took it, strike 1. He looked at me. I said, come on. Come on, he'll throw it again. And now he threw another one, but he got it out just a little bit. And he hit it in the lower deck in the Polo Grounds, which is hard to do. The upper deck is easy, but the lower deck, the upper deck hangs over.
250? Like 250?
No. Yeah, he didn't hit it over...
That's harder than hell.
He didn't hit it over 270 feet, Mickey, but he got it into the lower deck.
That means it was going low and straight.
Line drive.
If it had been in any other ballpark in the country, the left fielder probably would have had to come in 4 or 5 steps and catch it, right?
A line drive home run.
And we won the National League pennant.
That was the home run heard around the world, wasn't it? I mean,
that was the shot heard around the world, as everyone says.
Your advice to a young athlete today. Suppose Kurt Thomas took on like you did. How could he get on the pommel horse and...
No, I wouldn't
for
advise
matter.
any young, if we're being serious, I would never advise any young little leaguer, if that's what we're talking to, to ever try to be like me. No.
Really?
I would advise them to try to be like Hank and take care of themselves so they could play till they're 40 years old, you know. I should have retired when I was over the hill at 30. I'll tell you that. And if it hadn't been for Billy and Whitey, I could still been playing probably. But
wasn't there a night where you had to sneak back in? Well, probably more than one. But there's one involving garbage cans. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yeah. Casey got, once in a while Casey would get mad, like I imagine Leo did. I think Leo would probably be a great guy to play for because he would, as long as you're going good, he would say, you guys go out and do whatever you want to, and that's the way Casey was. But then if we lose 4 or 5 games in a row, he would say, now I'm going to tell you guys something. Cool it. Get in the room tonight by midnight. We're in a losing streak, and I'm going to change things around a little. Well, he had made this speech in the clubhouse, and that night, me and Billy didn't quite make it back by 12 o'clock, and we're come running up the stairs to the Kenmore Hotel in Boston, and there's not very many ways to get in the Kenmore. It's about the size of this room here. So there's not very many ways to get in. We come running up the stairs, and it was after midnight, and Casey was standing in the lobby with a bunch of sports writers.
Yeah.
So we go right back out, and Billy says, come on, we can go in the back door. So we go around to the back door, and it's locked. There's a chain on it.
Now you're in trouble.
But there's a window right over the door that's open. So Billy says, get me up on your shoulders and get me in that window, and I'll go around and come down and unlock and let you in. I said, okay. Now, we're dressed pretty nice, suits like Leo wears, and stuff like that. Billy gets up on my shoulders, goes in the window, comes around. I can hear him try the door. Now, I don't hear him anymore. I'm still out in the alley. Goes back up. He's, hey, yeah, what is it? And he says, can't open the door. I'll see you tomorrow. Wait a minute. He goes, see you tomorrow. He goes to the room.
Laurel and Hardy.
I got to stack up. There's trash cans out there where they put the, the garbage, great big garbage cans. I got to stack them up. I'm trying to crawl up to that window to get in the. I'd have been better off just to go ahead in the front door and take my fine,
Yeah.
But I tried to go up to there. I ruined my suit. I had both my knees were bleeding. I was kept falling off the trash cans. That's what you was asking.
What if, yes. What if that had ended?
I finally got in.
Wouldn't it have been awful to end your career falling from a trash can, though? And that isn't how you hurt your knee so badly, of course. No. How is your knee? Can you show it to us? Does it look like a normal person's knee at this point? I know it's been a very bad day. Yeah.
Which one?
Well, they're both bad, I know, but
I'll show you this.
can you show what it actually looks like, the Mantle knees? I don't know if they've ever been seen on public broadcasting. No, where's the bad part? Seriously, because I'm interested. Maybe Dr. Marshall, the knee man, is watching.
Can you get that?
Now, here's a very... Let me just use my pen here.
Looks like I'm from Russia.
There's a very long scar that way and that way.
Back here.
And then, what did they actually do there? Did they remove cartilage? Did they...
Yeah, it's like a football knee. You never. The worst thing that ever happened to you was a sprained ankle, right?
No, I had a broken ankle.
Oh, you had a broken ankle?
In 57, 54, my first year, September 5th, I cracked my ankle. Then the next year, of course, the year before we moved to Atlanta, I had another cracked ankle. But they both came at the tail end of the season.
But see, now that's the thing I'm talking about. He played in Milwaukee, and nobody ever wrote about it. You know, I mean, he could play with a broken ankle, and nobody said
Nobody ever knew anything about it.
I wrapped my ankle or my knee one time, and everybody says, "Geez, Mantle's playing with a broken knee." And I mean, they wrote
like,
about me and Willie and Duke and Leo. You never heard about Hank till he hit 716 home runs. You know,
I know.
That's
It's really,
the reason I say he was the most underrated player in my era.
Hank, do you feel that there are great players who, because they never got the so-called big-time recognition and so on, the way you did, have really been cheated by history in that sense that they...
Oh, I think you can mention some other names that were probably is the same as mine. You know, Billy Williams was another one that everybody assumed that was going to hit 300 every year and do the things that he did. Roberto Clemente. It was just unfortunate that, of course, like Mickey was saying, you know, that sometimes the press have a way of not looking upon ball players if you're not playing in New York City.
Yeah.
Not getting the exposure that you probably would get if you were playing here in New York City. But I feel like I was extremely lucky in another respect that I don't know whether I could have put up with it. You know, Roger Maris went through, I guess, hell here. You know, the year he broke Babe Ruth record for a single season, and I don't really know whether I could have put up with it. You know, I really don't know, because I was able, the period that I was going through that 2 years, I was able to get away from the press a little bit the last 2 years.
But you were hounded, weren't you? I mean, not only by hate mail from some people who said, you such and such, if you try to break Babe Ruth's record.
Oh. Well, that was, you know, for 2 years, when I was going through that period, of course, I was not allowed to open any mail at all. They wouldn't let me open it. All the mail was sent through the FBI and through the post office.
Yeah, the FBI likes to keep track of threats.
Yeah. I got a kick out of, even myself, you know, I used to hear about Hank Aaron, you know, and finally we play him in 58.
Right.
First time we played in the World Series. I thought he wouldn't hit any home runs in Yankee Stadium because it's so far out to left center and right center. So we play him in the series. The first time I see him hit, he hit a home run off of Bob Turley over the left center field. He must have hit it 450 feet,
Yeah,
right?
that was in the World Series.
Yeah, in the World Series.
We don't really know.
And I didn't think you could hit one over there. You know, there's only like, each year, there's only like 6 or 7 balls hit that far. And he hit it over the left center field bullpen.
Nobody knows what the longest hit ball is, do they, really? Because in some parts it can go
I think
beyond
Mickey
that.
must hold
Mickey
a
holds
few
them all.
records as
I'll
far as long
tell you,
home
the
runs.
guy that hits the longest home runs I've ever seen off of Whitey, who's one of my best friends, him and Billy, but Frank Howard can hit the ball further than anybody I ever saw.
I seen you hit a ball in the World Series in County Stadium. It was easy in the bullpen. I think you hit it off Buell or somebody. I think it was Buell or Spahn. You don't see many balls hit in that other bullpen in Milwaukee.
Well, I could hit the ball. I ain't saying I couldn't hit it a long ways, but Frank Howard,
How about the one you
he's
had?
300 pounds, you know. I mean, when he orders breakfast, he has a dozen eggs and a loaf of
How
toast.
about the one he hit in '63 in the World Series in Yankee Stadium?
That's awful, Whitey.
That was awful, Whitey, and it never got off the ground 30 feet.
Why'd he jump for it?
Yeah.
What did you hit the ball in Yankee Stadium at?
I hit the roof a couple of times.
Yeah.
Intentionally?
No, Dick, when Hank was coming down into that record, every time he come up, we had special balls we used for him.
How do you mean?
They were marked. They were marked. We had a mark on the ball. We always changed the balls, make sure we get the same ball back that he hit. A lot of people didn't know that at the time.
Oh, really?
We had special balls. When Hank came up, we used to switch the balls. And he always come into some joke around the mound, he wouldn't use the ball. You know, he said, I don't want that ball. I was going to use it. He said, I don't want it.
How did you persuade him?
Well, give him another one, the same thing, his mark was on it. I mean, it was something, you know, we had to make sure you give him the right ball because we had to get the right ball back and get when he came time to hit it.
Did you see Babe Ruth play?
I didn't. When I was a kid, I saw him, and, you know, I thought it was super. I thought, my idol was Gary.
714 is in Cooper. 715 is...
Yeah. When you fellas talk at the same time, the folks at home can't hear you.
The same thing, I mean...
Tais-toi.
But I seen him play when I was a kid.
Yeah. We're talking about Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And
but Gary,
did he have charisma on the field? If someone hadn't told you that's the world's greatest baseball player, would it have just looked like a man with a slight pot belly who, you know, when he walked out on the field?
It's amazing the way he hit a ball, the way he was built, I thought, right?
Leo, you saw him for 4 years.
I know you see him waddling down the baselines in some of his films that are huge.
Had big feet.
Gut on him. And
big feet, small ankles.
Yeah.
His belt hung underneath his belly. But when he hit one, you could just drop the bat and he started the slow trot. Because you knew it was gone. You knew it was 400 or better. As far as you could hit it.
Isn't there some controversy about the famous moment where he supposedly points where he's going to hit the home run and then hits it there?
That was in Chicago.
There's some controversy that he wasn't really doing that. He was just saying there's a light out there or something.
No.
Was it really a dramatic stunt?
The argument is that Mark Koenig, the shortstop with the Yankees, was traded to the Cubs.
Okay.
And he hit about 400 and won the pennant for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
Now they're playing the Yankees in the World Series. And Charlie Root is pitching. He gets 2 strikes on Babe. And I was sitting right between third and home watching the series. And they had been on, Babe had been on the whole Cub club for being so cheap. They only gave Mark Koenig a half a share. And they would never won the pennant without Mark Koenig that year, without him. And Babe said they're cheap. And so they hollered at him, and Babe pointed his finger like that. Now, I don't know whether he was pointing to center field or not, but I know that Root came with a little slider and got it about belt high, and the last time you saw it, it was going right by that scoreboard like a shot.
They say sometimes the ball seemed to be still climbing by the time it was over center outfield. I mean, halfway out of the...
If it stayed in the park, it knocked all the numbers off whatever it hit.
Was he a good outfielder?
Yeah, great outfielder. Never made very few mistakes.
Just please, we don't need
Very few mistakes. Throw the ball to the right base. He did everything and had a little bitty white glove in the outfield. Like a little bitty glove. And he could throw the ball to the right base all the time, and every once in a while steal a base on you.
How about pitching when he was
What do you mean a little white glove?
Well, he had a smaller glove than today. He had half the size of the one you had. Smaller than that. And I mean, a little bitty glove. But he caught everything and was smart.
Was he smart?
Only in baseball.
Stupid otherwise.
Only in baseball because I had him as a coach.
Yeah.
He coached for me in Brooklyn. And I gave him simple signs. Take, bunt, hit and run, steal. He couldn't give it.
You mean he just couldn't master the 4 signs?
And if you went on the bench, and I know this like I'm sitting here, if a friend of Babe's came into the Yankee dugout, Babe would say, this is Lou Gehrig, Earl Coombs, Bob Musial, and this is, well, the kid. Everybody was kid.
Kid.
Yeah. Now, you know all the kids. He couldn't remember your name.
A big man, not smart, but a genius in his field.
Put the uniform on and goodbye and eat 6 hot dogs with everything on it before going into the clubhouse to get dressed.
What killed him, Leo?
Cancer, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, his throat cancer was it?
Yeah.
We're talking about Babe Ruth. The film that was made of his life, I think William Bendix played it.
William Bendix.
Was it fairly legitimate, respectable from your point of view, that film?
Well, I don't think he ever made a good baseball pitcher.
Why not?
Because they never used the right people.
Best one was Monty Stratton, I believe.
That's right. One of the users, it's always like a year later, Bendix was the Kill the Umpire. He was in the movie Kill the Umpire.
Yeah.
And it could have been a good story, I thought, of baseball. Monty, but use the right guys to play the parts. Use the right ballparks. They use a ballpark in the minor leagues, a big league ballpark.
I thought there was some talk of making a movie of Boughton's book. And
yeah, super.
Not a great idea, huh?
No, I don't. You're getting on me about that Bowden. I know. You know. I don't like him. I'm not scared to say it.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
You didn't. What makes you think it?
I thought your face turned red every time.
Well, they had a comeback award from this year. It was about the comeback of the player. So they called me up to make an award, and I said, they didn't tell me the name. They just said, I said, sure, be glad to do it for baseball. When they told me it was Bowden, I said, forget about it.
Really?
I wouldn't do it. I don't think it's right. I hate anybody hurt our game.
He's my best friend.
I know, that's nice. When's your birthday?
You don't have many.
Gotta wrap him up, right?
Mickey,
in our business, if the Babe Ruth League and the big league, it's baseball.
yeah.
We love them all.
Mickey, do you think if more baseball players were homosexual that it would have cut down on the debauchery of having to go out and get women, and all of that?
Oh, I can't imagine them having more than they ever have. Half of them are already.
How many would you say?
At least half.
Yeah. And do they take an enlightened view of it now, the way they do having black players and so on? So it's not a
kinda,
minority.
You know, it's
now,
just a run-of-the-mill thing now. You know, to go in the shower.
What he said.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they're going to have like showers for two. You know, instead of everybody going in the same shower. If you got a guy that you like, you can go in there and.
All right, who put him up to this? Well, take me out to the ball game, eh? Do you think, from anything you know about me in the remaining 30 seconds, that I could have been a ball player?
I saw you catch that ball a while ago, and
Your career was over then.
I tried to get him to bounce it to you to see if you could catch a bouncer, but he wouldn't do it.
Watch your lip. No, in fact, my idols as a kid, I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the Philadelphia A's had a farm club, and I used to see Bobby Shantz and the second baseman, who always had what was his name? Huh? Nellie Fox. Nellie Fox. Yeah, they were my heroes because I was.
They like little guys, right?
Yeah, I was their size then, you know. Say, gentlemen, it's been a real great treat to have you all here, and for those who don't care about baseball, even I'm sure many of you stayed through because these guys are such interesting personalities and giants in their field. Pardon me, that mentions a specific team, but you know what I mean. So, Tom Gorman, Mickey Mantle, Leo Durocher, and Hank Aaron, thanks for being here these last 3 nights, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Funding for the Dick Cavett Show has been provided by this station and other public television stations, and by a grant from the Chubb Group of insurance companies.